Upgrades.
Hi, this is Jorge from TeamJVS, and we have the honor today of speaking with Elena, who happened to be the writer and director of John Leguizamo Live at Rutgers, which, first and foremost, let me just say, was an amazing doc. It took me a little bit surprised just because I've been a huge John Leguizamo fan, and just seeing him in a more natural and human state, I would put it, instead of like always like this goofy over the top personality, was just this whole doc was just very touching. But just want to say welcome. Obviously we know you are at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival where this film will be showing. So welcome. How's everything going so far, and how are you doing today?
Well, thank you, Jorge. It's really, really lovely to be here. As I said, I love talking about this film. I want as many people as possible to see the film because it is important. And I think you hit it on the nose with John. A lot of people have said that about their experience of the film after watching that and knowing his work for, somebody once told me that he's been in nearly 100 different movies and television projects, and he is just a whirlwind of devotion. But this is his passion as well too, and everything's going great. We had a world premiere at Tribeca. The boot camp of that's what I call the boot camp of film festivals. It was an experience. And from there, we've gone on to a number of Academy Award nominating film festivals and some other ones, but this is very special for me to be in Santa Barbara and sharing this with my friends and family. And this is where I live, and this is where my production company, Azimuth Films, is. So we're doing really well. I think on the circuit we're doing really well, and we'll see how far we can go with, hopefully with distribution. Because as I said, this is a message that we want to share with as many people as possible.
Yeah. No, and,
Yeah.
and that is, I guess, something that really attracted me to this. In my head, and I'll just be brutally honest, when I first saw the title and saw this, I almost thought we were going to see a more live show of John doing, kind of his stand-up basically for, with all his personas. And I
Right.
thought it was going to be more of just kind of seeing, some of the people at Rutgers like reacting to it or laughing to it. But it's crazy because in the whole, I think the runtime of the film is about 25 minutes, and you barely see realistically any of his stand-up itself. It's just more of him connecting with all these inmates that are there. And
Mhm.
it you see his passion come out when, I think there was one line where he's like, if you can just see, someone from your neighborhood who made it, like it just
Mhm.
gives other people hope. And I
Right.
think throughout this, like watching this doc, it like that word just kind of kept, coming up more and more. It's like
Mhm.
it's funny because you go into it thinking it's going to be like a little comedy set, but you kind of see it's almost like a passion project where you see how much love and dedication he has, and just how much he wants to give back to the community, in the sense of there's not many people who would go to, to Rutgers on their own
Mhm.
accord, but
Mhm.
let alone just try to make an impact on some of these people.
Mhm.
So I guess from that, I take it, how do how was your vision when you were, obviously kind of grabbing all this, and this project started? Like, what was your vision, and what was your like theme that you wanted to project with this film?
Yeah, this is that's a wonderful, wonderful question, and I really appreciate everything you said. I think I should start backwards here. A little history. John and I were advocates at an anti-recidivist criminal recidivism organization called Getting Out and Staying Out. It's a reentry program for people that go into the system, and they provide a program. We call it the 3 E's. It's education, employment, and emotional support. These are aspects that basically the program really supports these guys from returning. The statistics are horrendous in general in this country, whereas three quarters of people who get out reoffend and come back in, because when they get out, they're shunned by society. There's like a super lack of dignity. You're judged by your mistakes, and you really have no opportunities to make a living. And so in some cases there's no choice but to reoffend.
Yeah.
And this program and other programs, there's a lot of other programs across the country that are like this, provide this type of support. And with GOSO in particular in Harlem, New York, their recidivism rate is like less than 10%, which is unheard of.
Wow.
In
Yeah.
other programs, they're very successful and very devoted program. And so John and I, we wanted to bring attention to the human stories and the serious challenges of reentry society as an offender. That was kind of our original thought. His work, you spoke about his performance. Well, I came up with, when we decided we were going to do something, because we wanted to give these guys some dignity, and we also wanted to entertain them. So he's an entertainer, and we wanted to give them a little bit of laughter in a place where laughter is not often heard, right?
Yep.
Rikers prison. And so we decided that he would perform, a portion of Ghetto Klown, his one-man autobiographical play, because I felt that the themes in his play, which were autobiographical, and he was in trouble with the law, and he grew up in the streets of Spanish Harlem, and he had a very similar type of background until he got his SHIT together. And I thought that those would resonate with the justice-involved young men that we chose to be subjects in the film. And so I had questions for him, which of course we went off script completely, because you never know what anybody's going to say. I mean, I have to be honest with you. This is the first documentary I've ever really directed. I've directed narratives and produced close to 27 films in my life, but this was a first. And it was inspired. The idea to do this was inspired by someone I love very much in this world, who had a nonviolent offense and ended up in prison. And to go through the trajectory of his life,
Yeah.
and to see the indignity and the harshness and the trauma of being involved in the prison system in this country made me angry. I mean, I guess I call this film my creative revenge in a way, because I wanted people, even if, I never even wanted to know what these guys did, and I didn't. I still, to this day, I don't know what their offenses were. All I knew is that once they had an opportunity to express themselves, as John says, don't hide behind the truth. He tells them, don't hide behind the truth. He shares his own demons with them, which, it's very accessible storytelling for these guys. And so they really picked up on it, and they felt very comfortable around him. And so the conversation took off in all sorts of different directions, until I ended up with 20 hours worth of material, which had to be, you've heard that adage, if I had more time, I'd write you a shorter letter. This was like, this ended up being, we decided we wanted to focus on the emotional impact of this journey for these guys. We wanted to give them an opportunity to express themselves and to be the heroes of their own stories. Because when in general, I mean, this emotionally, when people get an opportunity to talk about what's important to them, there's real beauty in the truth of that. And that if I would say that was the one theme I wanted in this film, that was it, and we were able to achieve it. And John, we were all extremely moved through the whole experience. We were there for 3 days.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I hope that answered.
No, that yeah, that perfectly answered it. Now, I guess that kind of flows into one of my questions that I've had is how did, because you kind of talk a little bit about how you and John kind of got together, but how did the whole process of, I guess, doing this at Rutgers come to play? Because I mean, it's not like it's not like you're going to the Y, down the street asking like, "Hey,
No.
can we perform this?" Like, how was that process, and how did that go for you guys?
Well, I mean, the honest truth is that John was not involved in the production. He was involved in his part of the production, which is bringing his set and doing the rehearsal and making sure, that and working with me as director and with the subjects. All of that, of course. I mean, he was the centerpiece of that. Pre-production was predominantly me. I As I said, we were involved with Getting Out and Staying Out, this organization, which is involved. It's Rikers, not Rutgers. It's Rikers, and they have social workers that go to Rikers. They are involved with the school. They helped start a high school at Rikers, George Motion Detention Center, which is where this was filmed. And these guys some of them, as you saw, have been sitting there for years. They can't pay, bail. They can't get a court date, that sort of thing. So anyway, I just lost my train of thought. Okay, so then what happened is they were able to get me into the DOC, the Department of Corrections.
Yep.
And I literally had 4 to 5 months worth of meetings with them,
Oh
trying
wow.
to convince them that this was going to be cool, because we were bringing in, I wanted to use the auditorium. John had gone, this is a cute story. John had gone to Rikers once before to perform Ghetto Klown. They threw him into, I asked him that when I met him, I asked him like, what happened? He said it was terrible. They threw him into the ball court, into the basketball court. And of course the acoustics were like, the ceiling was high, and he said nobody past the second row could hear him. So I said, that's when I said, do you want to go back in? Because we both had film and Hollywood experience. And he said, yeah, I would really love to. So, but it's like they didn't get who he was. He is sort of the son of New York City. I mean, he's like the treasured citizen, of New York City. So I would have thought that would be okay. But we were looking to use the auditorium to do this in, and only officers had been graduated in the auditorium. It had not been used for any other purpose. So
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah, so we went over and over and over, and finally they went, oh yeah, John Leguizamo. Somebody did. John Leguizamo. He's famous. Sure. Oh yeah. Okay, we'll do that. But like, here's the rules. Here are the regs. These are the people that are going to guide you in. Had a wonderful support team there. Wonderful. I mean, even my tech people were inmates, and everybody took it very seriously. The guards, everyone. And so they allowed us to go in, and we set it up, and I had to then pull together a team, a production team. And I will brag, I did the whole entire thing pro bono.
Oh wow. Okay, that's awesome. No, I mean,
Yeah, I brought everybody, including John and myself, and I had cinematographers who were feature film cameramen. I had 5 red cameras. I had millions of dollars worth of equipment that got locked up in an office at Rikers at night. So, insurance was interesting, but we had wonderful crew who really cared about the subject and wanted to be there and loved John. And, for them, it was a passion project as well. It didn't get costly until post. Then it got costly, but
why could
that's another story.
I was gonna say, especially having that much footage and having to cut it down and all that. So wow, that's
Yeah.
so how, I guess, because obviously, going into the prison and all that, how was it was it a very much a skeleton crew that was filming most of this, or did you feel you had a pretty adequate amount of people? Because I'm just trying to think, with guards, inmates, and all that, there probably had to be, I don't want to say special requests, but it's like, were they kind of stringent on what type of equipment you guys could bring, or was everything kind of, you know, do you, but if something goes wrong, like, we need you to like move out of here immediately type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they told us that they didn't make it seem dire, but we were aware of the fact, especially John. John was worried he was going to cause a riot at one point. It was pretty funny. He was nervous. And I had to, back in the green room, which they had just painted for him the day before. So the fumes were, coming up all over the place. He was like, I mean, it's like, in the beginning when he's standing there and he's on stage, he's doing his rehearsal, and he says, if I can do this, he's looking out at the empty audience, I
Yeah.
can do anything. And then there's that cowboy, cue.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so we were concerned about that, but I just I don't know. I had a different attitude about it. I mean, we brought in tons of equipment. They didn't check everything. I shouldn't say that. They put it through X-ray, but they didn't make us open up boxes or anything like that. There was a trust factor, and I had some important people from the prison system with me. So, and I had spent months, as I said, creating a trust bond, and I had to tell I had to tell the crew, I didn't have a skeleton crew. I had 25 people there. It
Wow.
wasn't small. I mean, I had assistant because we had red cameras. We were like running up and down the aisles with battery packs constantly. I had a DP, Fortunato Procopio. Abigail Fuller was there with me. I had, like I said, 5 DPs. Five cinematographers, camera, and sound, and we just moved throughout. When we went to do B-roll, we were told exactly what we couldn't shoot. You have to be very careful because you can't give an outside or an inside real perspective of
Yeah.
what's there, like a map of what's there. One story that was very important for me because of this person that I mentioned to you, who at the time was also in prison. These were kids. They were 18 to 22 years old, and I remember we put them in the auditorium after John's performance, and everybody had told me, everybody of authority had said, okay, listen, this is what's going to go on. Don't touch them. Don't really interact with them. They're going to ask you for something. And there was a couple of other rules and regulations. And that was also given to the crew too. And I looked at these guys and I thought, oh my God, they're just kids. I mean, this is how John and I felt about them. In fact, he said that so many times, Jorge, during the show, during the shooting, oh my God, Lena, they're just kids. They're just kids. They made mistakes, and there's reasons why they made the mistakes. They don't have mentors. They don't have a good family life. They come from poverty. They lived on the streets. I mean, there's just so many reasons why we all know people come to this in their lives. So I just I remember going blank and like a zombie, walking over to each and every one of these kids and introducing myself and taking their hand, not as a shake, but as like this, and thanking them for being there. Because the whole damn purpose of doing this film, listen to me, I'm getting emotional. The whole purpose of this film was to show them dignity.
Yeah. And I
If
think
they're,
it came across that way because I think for me that was the beautiful part about it. This didn't seem like you were shooting in a jail, if that makes sense. Like this
oh, I
didn't
love that. I
it
love that.
yeah, it didn't seem like inmates.
Yeah.
It seemed like people. And there's a few scenes where it almost looks like you guys are in a classroom of sort, and John's just talking to like a couple of the guys there. And like for me, it's like if you ever wanted to be like a fly in a wall, it's like you almost captured those moments because no one
Thank you.
was looking at the cameras. Everyone was just focused at the present. Like John
Mhm.
was talking to those kids, and those kids, when they were talking with John, it's like everyone was just so focused on the present time and not like everything that was going on around them. And
Yeah.
for me, that was one of those things where it's like it's just it was done beautifully. Like I can't like
Thank you.
it was very touching, just kind of just hearing some of these stories. And I go back once again, it's like it was, I liked it because John was, at one point it was very authentic, where I think one of the guys were talking about where he was, like, where he was from, and like John literally was like going back and forth with him, like, oh yeah, this building type of stuff, like almost, you could
Looks like a
tell.
prison. Prison looks like a school.
Yeah, but it's like you could tell that this was like just super authentic, and not just someone who, like, it's like, for example, like I'm Puerto Rican and I can't go to New York and be like, oh yeah, I know where this and this and this at, because I wasn't raised in New York. I was raised in Puerto Rico. It's like
Right,
I can
right.
tell you where some of these places are in Puerto Rico, but I feel sometimes people get certain people to like just almost supersede, like, oh yeah, like I know New York or I know this. But you could literally tell, like, no, John knows what he's talking about. And I think that little connection, like, you were able to grasp at on the film, where instantly it just felt like it was a very sincere conversation happening between just two individuals, where it's almost like you get removed from where you actually are at, and you're just kind of hearing, in a weird way, almost like a mentor talking to like a protege, just kind of being like, hey, like this is how I did it, or like I made it, like you can too,
Yeah,
type of stuff, which was
yeah.
which was just such a beautiful experience. And I think the one thing that got me was, obviously time flies when you're having a good time, like that saying happens. And this film ended and I wanted more,
Oh,
and I
lovely.
think
Okay.
that's one of those things where I'm like, it's very intriguing, because I'm like, well, like what's going on with these guys? Like, it's like you leave it in a way where it's like you yearn for more from this, which, from this, obviously gives people ideas, or even like, cool, like how can I help, or how can I
Mhm.
make a difference, which I think
Mhm.
is such a powerful thing to do with a short film, to evoke that much emotion to come out of someone. um
Right.
so I think that's one of those things where, just I definitely just want to congratulate you on that, because for me at least, it was very touching, and it was very, it was very impactful. Which is, what I was, which was weird, because I was expecting to see, kind of like John doing, his John things, but I got so much more out of it, which I
Like
think,
Johnny Cash.
yeah, which and that was one of the things that it reminded me of, when
Mhm.
like, because I've been trying to, since I saw the film, just trying to figure out, like, what else can I kind of like compare this to.
Mm,
There's really not much out there, because
no.
instead of focusing on like the funny haha, personality of John, like we get this sincere man who's just trying to
Mhm.
advocate and lift up, some of these people who
Mhm.
society most likely would just, like walk by them on the streets and all that. And it's just, it's a very unique and natural, like, view that we get of someone that you don't really see always. So
Yeah.
no, this was really
Oh,
special.
thank you, Jorge. Oh my God, what a beautiful tribute. Can I hire you to be my PR person?
Anytime, anytime. No, but it's true.
No,
Like,
no, I meant that tongue in cheek. I'm I'm I am so touched by what you just said, because everything you just said is exactly what I wanted for people to feel when they saw the film. And it was a choice. The original was longer. It was an hour long. As I said, I had 20 hours, and you would have gotten more of the story, more of their stories and all of that. But I wasn't sure that we weren't sure that there were a lot of reasons why we did a short anyway, because it might have repeated itself too much. And I see that happen so often in films. And my whole career has principally been making short films. So I have a strong affinity for them, and how they are so much like short stories
Yeah.
in a way. You know, you pick one or two themes and you get that across to people. If there's more to come, listen, I would love to, you know, continue with the subject. We touched on it, and as I've said to other audiences, you know, if you are moved by this, there are ways to support organizations that, that are trying to give back dignity to these people. They're trying to help them reenter society as good citizens, because we shouldn't assume that they don't want to be.
Yeah.
They're human, and they want to have a life. They want to have a family. They want to have a job. They don't want to reoffend. They don't want to go back into that horrible life,
Yeah.
that they lived before. And if there's a way to support the organizations wherever you are, I mean, there's one that I'm working with right now called Freedom for Youth here in Santa Barbara, who I just recently, and I'm just so impressed with them. They've been around for 13 years, but they have been supporting kids who are going in the wrong direction from age 13.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
whether they're incarcerated or not, and they're providing them with opportunities and a way to channel that adrenaline, in the
Yeah.
right direction. That's what we all need to do, because this society has gone off in the wrong direction as far as criminal justice reform.
No,
And
that's the
and
truth.
I'm not an expert on it. I'm not an expert on documentaries. I'm not an expert on, I mean, my intention was to entertain them and to give them an opportunity to talk. And if anything came of that on film, then we had something that we could share with a larger audience, to inspire them to at least think about it in a
Yeah.
different way. Think about it in a different way. So I'm very sweet. Thank you so much.
No, no, thank you. I mean,
Appreciating that. Yeah.
it's definitely it's very impactful, and I'm very I'm very happy that I came into this with I guess a different point of view, in the sense where, I was
Right.
expecting one thing and got another, because I think I got so much more than I was expecting. Um
Oh, love it.
so, and I just definitely just want to say thank you for making this film. I know we don't have too much more time left. But I guess I do want to, I guess, kind of throw it back towards you, and just let you have any last thoughts or anything that you would like to share with, kind of like the audience of, obviously this is showing at the Santa Barbara International Film Festival.
Mhm.
But is there anything else you want to kind of like let people know about this film?
Well, if you see the film, write to all of the streamers in the universe and tell them that they should they should distribute our film. Because I no, I mean, that's I was going to do that offline with you. I wanted to talk to you about that offline. We are trying right now. It's hard. It's Short films are a hard sell in general. I didn't think so when we began, doing the post-production work, but it's a different kind of film. It's not like highly commercial, even though John is a commercial figure. But I hope that we can reach a larger audience. We're in 21 different film festivals since Tribeca. I mean, we keep getting Santa Barbara may not want to hear this right now, but we keep getting we are we're employed. They're coming after us, which is fabulous. And I've been to a few film festivals. I want to give it a shout out to my team, to especially two members of my team, Brad Allgood, who's my editor, and in particular Ben Konigsberg, who is a brilliant filmmaker, and he was really very much he himself was an inspiration in getting the film made, and so much a part of helping to mold it. And so I want to give him a shout out as well too. And there were many more. I mean, there's so many people, and yeah, as you know, it takes a team. And I was very blessed to have Chris Aegean, who is our composer, and John brought him to me. He called him up one day. They'd done a lot of projects, feature film projects together, and he called him up one day and he said, "You know, Chris, I've always told you that one of these days I'm going to give you a call and with a project that's going to make you a lot of money." He said, "But this isn't one of those days." And I mean, everybody from their hearts just contributed to it. And so when you describe what your feelings were about watching the film, it means so much to me because you really got it. You picked the heart, you picked up the heart. And if we've, I don't mean to be, a model here, but if we got that across to people and people were moved, and the film festivals I've gone to, I mean, we were down at Holly Shorts in LA, and Ben and I were there, and we just sort of held court for 2.5 hours. People were coming over and saying, you made my mother cry, or thank you so much for depicting people on the screen that look like me, or have had my experience, and wanted to know every detail, really, really curious. And a lot of them did mention they wished it had been longer, which is very, I knew that was going to be a response. So it was a choice,
Yeah.
it was short and sweet.
No, I love it. I love it. No, I think you
Thank
did
you.
a wonderful job. And I definitely I wish you and everyone else involved in this project like just so much great success and just I really do hope that people this catches on and more people watch it because it's a film that I think deserves to be watched, like just deserves to be watched. It gives you a new lens to see people in. And I for one loved it. I know I've talked to a whole bunch of my buddies already about it, so I can't wait to spread the word even more.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Please do. Please do. This is the kind of, I think this is a negative, and I don't want to end on a negative, but, I don't want to see this film end up in the graveyard of, social issue films. It really needs to get out there. So anything you and your colleagues can do and this is a wonderful start to promote it, to those who are in the position to take it on. I just really, really appreciate it. I'm begging you. No, I'm kidding.
No, don't worry. I mean, no, trust me, it's we will happily, spread the word because I mean it's always easy nowadays to talk very negatively about like a bad film or something. But when you get something good, like it's so much nicer to spread good around this world than negativity. Like there's enough of negativity all around us.
Enough.
So no, so
Too much.
yep. We will happily spread the word. Well,
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it and definitely appreciate, just what you're doing and this passion project because it shows. So thank you so much. And everyone, once again, don't forget to watch John Leguizamo live at Rikers. It will definitely make an impact in your life. But as always, this is Jorge from Team JVS, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Jorge. Wonderful. Had fun. Take
Perfect.
care.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.